Hello friends, and welcome to the Millennial Tourist YouTube channel. In today's video, we will talk about the 10 least populated state in the US. But before we start, please make sure you subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so that you won't miss any amazing content from us.
Today we're going to take a look at the state with the least population density. One thing people and businesses look for when relocating is population density. They want to know how crowded a town, city, or state's going to be before they start calling real estate agents and bowling alleys. They want to know if they can get a lane on a Thursday night, you know? That's important to Americans. So population and population density are very different. They measure population density by taking the number of people residing in a location and the number of square miles that location is and average it out to how many people live per square mile on average. The global population density, not including bodies of water or my cousin's ex-wife, is 120 people per square mile. In the United States, some states exceed that number and others fall well below that number. This list takes a look at the states with the lowest population density, basically what states are a little sparse when it comes to intelligent life. So let's take a look and see what number 10 is. Number 10. Kansas. The Jayhawk state is overflowing with open fields and a lot of opportunities to keep to yourself. If you're a loner, head to Kansas. Kansas has 35.6 people per square mile. Now, to give you an idea how uncrowded that is, New York City has around 24,000 per square mile. 24,000 versus 35.6. I know it's city versus state, but just giving you an idea that, you know, people are living perfectly fine in very, very crowded locations. Number 9. Nevada. The Silver State doesn't have many people outside the cities. Most of the state is covered by the Mojave Desert, which isn't appealing to too many people. Maybe hermits, people avoiding lawyers, people avoiding ex-wives, and mafia hitmen. That's about it. The mafia hitmen don't stay there. They just use the desert to get rid of problems they had. Now, in the comment section, you will see a bunch of people saying they still bury things in the desert. And if I wouldn't have used the phrase used to, I would have another set of people climbing all of my butt saying that they stopped doing that in the 70s and giving out bad information and what's the other thing they like to say? Oh, I've lost credibility in their eyes. Okay, so here's the thing. When you tell someone that makes you look like a D-bag. What makes you think how someone's credibility stands in your eyes? Are you that important? Don't even say that again. Nevada has 26.3 people per square mile. Nevada has far too much open space, and that's probably why the federal government owns 80% of it. About 1,350 square miles of which is designated nuclear testing grounds. You don't go there, you get a tumor. Number 8. Nebraska. The Cornhusker State looks a lot like a place that hasn't really caught on yet. Sort of like a bar with a bad bartender and a poor DJ. The thing is, this place probably never will catch on, at least not in our lifetimes. Nebraska is mostly farms, and as automation continues to grow, the need for farmers declines. The rural parts of the state will continue to have fewer and fewer people over the coming decades. And really, their cities aren't growing too fast either. It's normally teenagers moving in from the rural portion of Nebraska to Omaha or Lincoln, looking for a more exciting life. And then when they get to those two cities, they realize they're almost as dull as the farm and move to places like Chicago or Denver. Nebraska has 24.7 people per square mile. I've been on buses with more people per square mile. Omaha is the most heavily populated area. Metro area has about 700,000 people. Number 7. Idaho. Idaho may not be showing up on a list like this the next decade or so. They're gaining people. They've been a very popular destination for Republican-leaning Californians for some time. Now, I'm a firm believer in how a person votes has nothing to do with anything else. That's their business. We are all Americans, meaning we are all in this together. Maybe not my cousin's ex-wife. She's on her own, especially in the event of a zombie apocalypse. She is on her own. The reason I do bring up Republican-leaning people moving to Idaho, the comment section. It'll be filled with people like Charles, that goes by Chuck, who emails me every month or so with stats about how great Idaho is. Chuck and the people in the comment section will be saying things like Californians are going to ruin Idaho, they're California and all that other stuff, and California's been ruined by all their liberal stuff and you're going to bring it up here to Idaho. You're going to see a gambit of all that stuff. I'm here to tell you 90% of the Californians moving to Idaho are tired of the California nonsense. They want to go there to be more like you. They're already Republican leaning, 90% of them. Keep that in mind. The population density in Idaho is 20 people per square mile. The place was thick with Native Americans before it was colonized. Idaho became an attractive place for European settlers in the early 1800s, and the gold rush kind of brought a bunch of people in there too. Obviously, it's slowed down, but like I said, it's picked up recently in the last decade or so. Number 6. New Mexico. New Mexico is in bad shape. As of 2005 or so, they became the new Mississippi, with more of a need for sunblock. The land of enchantment has people flooding out to the surrounding states. They have a poverty issue that's one of the worst in the country. Drugs and crimes are the top 5 worst. Unemployment is always bad, and the Albuquerque mayor's office hung up on me 4 times as soon as they heard me say world according to Briggs. That's not even a joke. I honestly believe I heard one of them drop an F-bomb on me. I could be wrong. Kind of muttered it. Anyway, New Mexico has a population density of 17.2 people per square mile. Only 51.4% of the people living in the state right now were born in the state. The rest are immigrants from other states, territories, and countries. Number 5. South Dakota. Humans have lived in what is today South Dakota for several thousand years. The first inhabitants were Paleo-Indian hunter-gatherers that disappeared from the area around 5000 BC. That trend hasn't changed much. People just up and leave this state on the regular. It's like they've had enough and they just go, poof, you're gone. In 1803, the United States purchased the Louisiana Territory and an area that includes most of South Dakota today from Napoleon Bonaparte. Soon after that, President Thomas Jefferson organized the Lewis and Clark expedition to explore the region. They did, and then they kept going till they ran out of land near Astoria, Oregon. South Dakota is similar to North Dakota in population and density, just slightly more people per square mile. They have 11.3 people for every square mile. The majority of the population is found east of the Missouri River, where the economy is based on crops and cultivation. And Deadwood's pretty fun, but that's not keeping people there. Number 4, North Dakota. Just like South Dakota, you have North Dakota, just a little bit colder and a little bit flatter. The Rough Rider state is right at the top of the country with 3 other entries on this list. It's like nobody wants to go to this part of the country. The nickname for this state is the Rough Rider state, but I like the nickname I gave it. Hashtag nothing to see here, folks. North Dakota is the 4th least densely populated state with 11 people per square mile. Prior to the arrival of European settlers, this land was largely inhabited by Native American who hunted buffalo. It was the railroad that blew it for them. The construction of the railroad brought settlers to North Dakota, and I promise you, a lot of American Indians, every time they saw a train, were effing train, ruining everything. The majority of the state is covered in wheat farms that are protected by anti-corporate laws that prohibit banks from owning the title to farmland. That makes North Dakota one of the smartest states in the Union. That right there is genius. You go back and study the Great Depression and everything like that, and several other different periods and parts of the country. Banks just wrecked farmlands and communities and just, it was bad. Anyway, that's the smartest thing I've ever read while doing these lists. Number 3, Montana. Montana carries a couple nicknames. The most common that everyone knows is the Big Sky Country. And then you have another one, equally as exciting, the Treasure State. They got this one because a bunch of people got rich mining. Various indigenous people lived in the territory of Montana for thousands of years. Historic tribes encountered by Europeans and settlers from the United States included the Crow in the south central area, the Cheyenne in the very southeast, and the Blackfeet in the central and north central areas. There's a handful of other tribes, but they're far too hard for me to pronounce this early in the morning. Montana, like other states in this section of the United States, are sparsely populated. There's a couple reasons for this. They have great summers, but painful winters. Really, there aren't too many people willing to subject themselves to the type of winters Montana has. Actually, all the states up in this area. Montana doesn't have a lot of people. The population density is 7.1 people per square mile. Historically, Montana was settled by homesteaders on large tracts of land that were divided up amongst families. This population spread contributes to the low density of people here, as well as the main economic activity being agriculture, which takes up a lot of land. Huge swaths of land are needed to cultivate cereal grain and raise cattle. And on top of it, the areas that don't have farms on it have mountains on it, so not a lot of people live in the mountains usually. Especially when you get bad winters in normal parts of the state, move up to the mountains, it gets rough. Number 2, Wyoming. The second least densely populated state is Wyoming with 6 people per square mile. I've been in hot tubs that were more densely populated. This state is a large state with a small population, and the most important economic activities here are cattle ranching, which takes up large portions of the land, coal mining, and of course tourism. A large portion of the land is either covered in mountains or designated as a national protected land, like say national parks or monuments. The northwest corner of the state is completely covered with Yellowstone National Park, which turns out to be a giant supervolcano that could blow up at any time, vaporizing anyone in the vicinity. I'd tell you if you buy land here to make sure you have good homeowners insurance, but really, when this thing goes, it's going to be so bad that's not going to matter. In this case, I would suggest doing a little extra praying to whoever you pray to. Maybe they can hook you up with a fast pass for wherever you're going. On the day Yellowstone goes, there's going to be lines. And number 1, Alaska. Alaska has the lowest population density in the U.S. They have 1 person per square mile. Compare that to the 71.2 for the rest of the country. That's a bit low. There's actually more caribou than people in Alaska. There's also 5 times more people than there are teeth, so that's something. During the gold rush of the 1890s, thousands of immigrants went to Alaska hoping to strike it rich, which, as you can imagine, increased the number of people living in the state. Funny how the prospect of getting rich starts a caravan to the middle of nowhere. Half the current population living in Alaska lives in the Anchorage metro area. Alaska is by far the least densely populated state in the U.S.
That is all we have for you in today's video. We hope you enjoyed the video, and do not forget to check out our playlist for more awesome videos. Before you go, please remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on your notifications bell so that you can see all of our future videos. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.